Okay. Let's just start with recreation, Parks and Recreation, or do you want to start with Public Works?
No, Parks and Recreation first, please.
Okay, very good. Welcome everyone to the meeting of Public Works, Parks and Recreation and Railroad. Cheryl, you should have received the minutes of the previous meeting. Cheryl intended a motion regarding the minutes. Mr. McGowan on the motion to approve. Do we have a second? I can't see. Second on the minutes?
Mr. Bruno.
Mr. Bruno, all right. Mr. Bruno on the second. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the previous meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition. I'll consider it carried. Thank you. Kevin, what do we have first up here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to turn it over to Tim Benway, the Director of Parks and Rec.
Okay. What do you have, Tim?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have it. First one is a resolution for extension of existing contract between the City of Glens Falls and the South Warren Snowmobile Club. This is the parking lot on West Mountain Road. It's an annual agreement.
Chair will intend a motion to bring this to the floor for consideration. Mr. McGowan, Ms. Hogan on the second. Discussion. There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of approving?
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, I didn't see.
I'm sorry. Let me restart my video here.
Oh,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Lincoln.
Mr. Chairman. So this is for Snowmobile Club. There's no money involved in this one at all?
Correct. It's just for parking lot on West Mountain.
That's good.
Okay. That's thank you. You know, I won't even say it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposition, carried. Item 3, Kevin, what do you have?
Extension of existing contract once again. This is Lime Timber and the Hague Snow Blowers. This is up in Hague.
All right. The chair will entertain a motion to bring this to the floor for consideration. Mr. Leggett on the motion, second. Mr. McGowan on the second. Discussion?
Yes. I'm opposed to always paying so much to Lime Timber on this. There's many private property owners that give up their land for free for snowmobile trails across the whole county. This one doesn't sit well for me, just as the Lime Timber charging for access to get to our fire tower doesn't sit well either. I'm not in favor of this motion.
Any further discussion? Mr. McGowan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remember this contract from before, and I thought it was excessively high, but I have to agree with Supervisor Leggett. It just offends me is that so many people do give up their properties, and some of them are close to their houses, and they got to listen to that noise, for nothing. And I understand, everybody's in this business to make money, but we also rely on that. So I would tend to say that, if they can renegotiate it but I'm not in favor of that. But I also don't want to give up the opportunity to not have a trail, for our snowmobilers to use. So it's a kind of a catch-22, and I think that's what they might feel. And I feel we're getting taken advantage of.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's the length of this trail?
What's the length?
Tim?
6 miles, it says.
About 6 miles on the trail.
I see it there. Sorry. Yeah.
Approximately 6 miles.
So $500 a mile? for
Slightly over.
general use, let's say, that it starts when there's snow and it ends when the snow leaves. There's really no trace on things. These are on existing roads. And who maintains those trails? Is there a contract to maintain the trails over that 6 miles?
That's the Hague Snowgoers.
Also, another private organization that goes by donation and picks up the cost of maintenance of trails.
Correct. They have county money and New York State grant and aid funding.
Yep.
Chairman,
Supervisor Bramer.
thank you. I appreciate the comments of Supervisor Leggett and McGowan, and I agree with Brad that we don't want to remove access, but does seem like they're kind of taking advantage of us. I'd like to see if we can consider going back to them to renegotiate this. $500 a mile for 1 year does seem kind of like a lot.
Especially if we don't have any snow.
And we're not looking at a lot of money in our budget this year.
One other question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, Mr. Leggett, go ahead.
Thank you. Does the county pay for any other private access for snowmobile trails? That's a
Tim?
negative.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
All or nothing. Yeah.
Mr. Merlino has a question.
Further discussion then on the matter?
Mr. Bruno.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Bruno?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Supervisor Bramer. Maybe we could revisit this and either renegotiate it or maybe just tell them that, we don't think it's fair that all these other landowners provide access free of charge. And maybe we could do that. I don't know, maybe.
All right, then why don't we do this? Chair will entertain a motion to table this. Tim, the instruction being to go back to the property owner with some of the concerns that you've heard today to see if there's any modifications that might be possible.
Mr. Conover. Mr. Merlino has been waiting to ask a question.
Who is that now?
It's Amanda. Mr. Merlino has been waiting to ask a question.
Jean. I'm sorry, Jean. I don't see you on the screen. Jean Merlino, go
I'm
ahead.
here in the town hall. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for some of the people that don't know, some of the snowmobile clubs like South Warren, we do pay homeowners to use their property. It's been a bigger problem in the last 3 or 4 years when new people come in and buy the property and find out we have the right to cross it. They demand some money and we take care of it. Not a lot, but there are some people getting paid to allow the South Warren Snowmobile Club to go across their property, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the harm in going back to the property owner, but I would just mention to the committee, I mean, the snowmobile system across the state, the many, many thousands of miles, includes largely, much of it, private properties. The lack of those crossings could eliminate major legs on the snowmobile system, affect communities, clubs, etc. Many of these arrangements have been existed for some time, but I don't see the harm in going back to the property owner. Tim, I think that's so with that, I think we need to move on. I would say, oh no, Mr. Bruno, go ahead.
I was just going to comment that I'm not against paying them something. I understand there are insurance costs involved. You have people crossing your property, there's liability and stuff, but given the economic times we're in right now, I think just taking another look at it, if possible, would be prudent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I agree. And would you like to make that a motion, Mr. Bruno? A motion to table?
Yes, I
Mr.
would.
Bruno, a motion to table, go back to the property owner. Mr. McGowan on the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, motion to table takes precedent, discussion ends. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. What's the next item you have
Andrea,
here?
I think Ms. Hogan had something to say.
Again, I don't see her on the screen. Ms. Hogan?
Thank you,
Go to
Mr.
gallery
Chairman.
view.
Moments passed, but thanks, Brad.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Next item, Mr. Hajos, Tim Benway.
The next one is a resolution request. We had received money from Dan Lewis. We'd like to put it into our budget to replace and repair our furnace and AC unit that got struck by lightning up yonder farm.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Gowan on the motion. Is there a second to this?
I'll make that second with thanks to Dan Lewis Trust.
Bramer, Supervisor Bramer on the second. Discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Tim?
Yes, the next one I have, Mr. Chairman, is to amend the railroad budget. We are going to take the payment from Revolution Rail and put it in to pay for our utilities, taxes, and minor repairs. $15,500.
9,000.
All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion to bring this to the table? Second to bring this to the table for consideration? Ms. McGowan, Mr. Leggett on the second. This money, I go one more time, this will be transferred from where?
From the money that Revolution has just paid us.
Okay.
We want to take that monies to put into the budget for taxes and utilities.
I understand. Commissioner Hajos?
Just to add on real quick, as you recall, when we did the budget last year, we only budgeted for a portion of the year, expecting to have an operator possibly on the line this year. That didn't take place, so we didn't budget for a full year. So this would cover some of those expenses that we did not cover for our budget for.
Very good. Any further discussion? Supervisor McGowan?
Yeah, just to be clear, Kevin, this is intended strictly for the railroad.
Correct.
This is for the railroad, correct?
Any other questions?
Andrea has a question.
Ms. Hogan?
Thank you. Thanks again, Brad. While we're on the railroad, very quickly, the town of Johnsburg wants to thank the county for all of your efforts in getting those derelict cars out of there. They left a few days ago, much improving our waterfront area. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, then, we're ready for the question. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Tim?
Just I was going to update the committee, but the track repair went well. Obviously, good enough that the equipment has left. So Revolution Rail, as of this date forward, may use the southern portion of our track.
Good report. Thank you. And do you have something on the forest school at Up Yonder?
Yeah, I'll give you that in a minute. I was going to say the first thing I had was Andrea kind of stole my thunder. I was contacted by Hal Raven from Raven Rail last week to move Mike Kelly's equipment out. Mike Kelly's equipment was removed Saturday. They went up Saturday. I think they got there about 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30. And by 8 o'clock, they were rolling back out of town. So except for some blocks and stuff that they had up there as part of the change to get that engine out of there, they have most of their equipment, at least the coach and the engine, completely out of North Creek now. So the last thing I had was you'll see on your agenda is Forest School at Up Yonder. So when Karen Beatty took over as the administrator of Up Yonder Farm, Tim and I kind of gave her kind of direction is we wanted her to think outside the box for Up Yonder Farm. As most of you know, Up Yonder Farm is supported by the trust and with the kindness of the town of Bolton, as well as Warren County. They receive also some tax money up there. But we've asked Karen to kind of look for new programs, new ideas, possibilities of other revenue that she can bring into Up Yonder. So with that being said, when the pandemic hit this past year, that effectively eliminated all the revenue that Up Yonder would normally have taken in with the school programs. So on with us today is Megan Seeley, and she's been waiting patiently to talk about this forest school. Megan is a certified New York State elementary ed teacher and a small business marketer, and I'm going to turn it over to her, but she's got a potential for a program for Up Yonder called the Forest School, children ages 3 to 6, and this would provide an opportunity for something new at Up Yonder as well as a potential revenue source. So with that being said, Megan, I will turn it over to you if the chairman is going to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Megan, welcome.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry I'm in my bedroom because I have my 3 young kids downstairs. So if you hear any squeals, that's what's happening today. But thank you for taking the time. I guess that my family has spent a lot of time at Up Yonder. We are Lake George residents, and my parents are up in Bolton. So it sort of initiated the idea of, as we're trying to figure out what to do with our children this fall. I have 3 young children under the age of 5. My eldest is going to kindergarten, and there's a lot of question marks right now for kind of what we're going to be able to do going into the fall. And one of the things that I thought about, and I noticed there is something called a forest kindergarten, which is exclusively is children ages 3 to 6. There's a pretty set curriculum for this. And my friends and I were sort of at first considering there's a Waldorf program that's available down in Saratoga that's $10,000 a year for your children to go 5 days a week from 9 to noon to play outside. Yes, I see some mouths just open wide. So that, for me, initiated, well, I have a certification. I also have a background in small business marketing, which is kind of a strange mix. But I have been sort of trying to think about the next idea as to what we could do. And Up Yonder seemed like a really great location to be able to sort of set this up. And I guess that I was sort of in the idea phase and was willing to answer any questions. I think it's a really good opportunity to earn income. It's sustainable year round. And I know for a fact that there's a huge trend going toward this, that's leaning toward this for a lot of parents that just don't know what to do with their kids in the fall. And especially parents who are considering homeschooling because they're afraid of their children going to school and then just being pulled out again if anything does happen with the pandemic, and if children are just sent home again sort of one day and we just have to figure out what to do with the new schedule. So I just want to kind of open it up and see at this point what questions you may have that I'm able to answer now. And I'm happy to look into I tend to be pretty comprehensive in terms of rolling things out, but I just kind of wanted to first create the energy and see kind of what you might be interested in knowing a little bit more about.
Well, I'll speak for myself. I like new innovative ideas like this. Obviously, I'd like to see it for you to take pen in hand and commit it, put it in writing, and so that we have something to look at, and where you begin to connect the dots, so to speak, so that we can get a better view of what this program element might be, and some of your thoughts regarding it. But I'll open it up now to the whole board. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Chairman. Hi, Ms. Seeley. This sounds like a really, really interesting proposal. Have you spoken with the director at Up Yonder about this?
So as a matter of fact, to be completely transparent with you, my relationship with Karen, my little sister actually is a naturalist at Up Yonder. So that was she's an employee of the county. And I have a personal relationship with Karen because I spend so much time with my children up there, and we also go visit my sister. So yes, Karen and I have spoken, and she seems very open to it, very interested. from my understanding, she's a biologist at heart. So I am more of the person that I think that would be a good combination, because I bring that background of sort of reaching out, networking, trying to get donations, trying to get some buzz going in terms of, getting people interested in this. But yes, she is in full support of this as of where we are at, with our conversation thus far.
Thank you.
Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you, Chairman. Megan, thank you for bringing this up. That there, a number of years ago, there was a book that came out called The Last Child in the Woods, and it's about nature deficit disorder that we have in our children. And it's a shame to think that we live in a forested land and there is not much comprehension of how our natural forest systems work. Megan, you're starting out at a very young age, and that's the time to get them. Would this grow to encompass older groups as well, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, to answer that question, absolutely. There are like I said, this is something that is really becoming more popular because it offers the opportunity for a full immersion outdoor year-round for children of all ages. There is curriculum that actually goes up to, I know for a fact, up to 8th grade. The initial phases, the reason that I had initially thought the forest kindergarten is because I specialize in that pedagogy in that younger ages. B, I think too, forest kindergartens are really, they're sort of the up and coming thing right now. There's a lot out there in terms of resources. So I think that would be a good platform to start. However, there's actually a forest school that is out in Brattleboro, Vermont, that does children of all ages. They have teen programs. They have summer camps, winter immersion programs. This really, for me, would just be a stepping stone in a place to sort of launch and try to get done by the fall. But like with the right collaboration, I think that there is an opportunity to really use this as a platform to expand into programming all the way up through the teen years.
Good. And I do see this started in 1927, the forest school. So.
Yes. So in my research, it initiated in Germany, and actually it's expanded into the UK. And I lived in the UK for a few years and really got to sort of experience it from an outsider point of view. And now, actually, in the United States, they are starting to certify actual daycares, schools. It's really getting some traction. And I think the pandemic is one way that it just naturally is, obviously it's organically starting to become more popular, especially in these areas where we have just all of the natural resources around us. So it's a great opportunity, I think, at Upyanda.
Well, why don't we do this at this stage, Kevin and Tim? Why don't you assist Megan and the staff at the Upyanda? We're going to need to see a full proposal here, including budget, funding sources, et cetera, But I think it's based on what I'm hearing from the committee that we're certainly interested in seeing anything in this regard. Is that fair enough from everyone?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's work this through. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, it's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
If I may have a for just a second, a couple of quick comments. Megan, I absolutely appreciate any kind of out of the box thinking, and I encourage you to move forward with this like I think the committee does. Pedagogy. That's not a word I hear very often. Actually, I think I've heard about it before. So thank you for that. But as you go through with your analysis, please include insights about liability and any kind of challenges that you expect and how you might address those. So just we can get a full look at what it's going to take to make this happen. So,
sure.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I had.
Thank you, and I will do. I really appreciate you taking the time to ask, and you can also feel free to send me any notes or any questions that you may have. I have been looking at this in terms of liability, and there does look like there is an opportunity that I could also fall under the umbrella insurance of Up Yonda with the permission of the Department of Rec. So I will absolutely look more into this, and I appreciate you asking that question, and I certainly will address that in the proposal.
Excellent.
Right. I think you also, it would be advisable if you could meet with the not-for-profit that was created for Up Yonda Farm, meet with some of those folks. I think they might be interested in hearing your ideas as well.
Yes, thank you. And I absolutely will. My husband was also on the board of the Charles Wood, and I also think that they might be looking for some ideas. So I'm happy to reach out to whatever connections I have to get this going.
Good. Thank you. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. I really very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Megan.
Kevin?
Megan, what I would propose is Tim and I will reach out to you as well as Karen. Maybe we can set up a meeting, and as Ron said, maybe we'll get everybody kind of in a room at, of course, 6-foot distance away from one another, and kind of run through this and come back to the committee with a proposal.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Happy to do that.
All right. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Have a good day.
You as well. Anything else under Parks and Rec, Tim or Kevin?
No, sir. We think that's it.
All right. Just before we leave this, Don, any questions or comments from the audience? Don Lehman?
Yes, just double checking. There is nothing as of this point, Chairman Conover.
Okay, thank you. Then I think we can roll right into our Public Works agenda without objection. First item on the agenda, request change the name of capital project H377, page 2 on your agenda. Chair will entertain a motion and bring this to the floor for consideration. Ms. McGowan on the motion. Is there a second? Ms. Bramer on the second. Thank you, Claudia. Any discussion? There being none. All those in favor of changing the name of this capital project signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 3, request authorized closure of capital project H392. Just quickly, Kevin, what do we have here?
Well, what you're doing is that we have two projects. One is H377, which is Sunnyside Road. The other one's H377 or 392, which is Sunnyside East. What we're doing is closing the first resolution, change the name of the project of 377 to combine the projects. We've already combined it with DOT and with the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council. So what we're trying to do is just we're changing the name of the project. We're going to close the one project, transfer the money from that one project. So that's the first on page 2, 3, 4. That's those first resolutions. They're all related to one, closing one project, combining two projects together, and then transferring the money over.
Okay. Item 4 is the request to amend the county budget. Yep. I think it's a stage since we've approved item 2. Chair will take a motion regarding 3 and 4. We'll combine those. Mr. McGowan, Ms. Bramer on the second. Any discussion on items 3 and 4? There being none, all those in favor of approving items 3 and 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 5, what do you have here, Kevin?
This is to amend the grant. This is for those same projects. This is for a supplemental agreement associated with the capital project H377, which just renamed. We haven't received the supplemental agreement from DOT yet, and normally I would not bring this to committee until we've received that supplemental agreement. It's in the works in their main office right now. The issue being is this project needs to be completed and constructed this year. This money through this grant, once we receive it, which I hope we have it before finance, is just a grant agreement to cover the construction cost. And the next resolution after that is to increase the capital project based on that supplemental grant. And then the next one would would be for the construction inspection services with Clark Patterson for the construction inspection on that same project. So again, I wouldn't normally do this, but we're trying to expedite everything so that once we receive the word from DOT, we're out to bid with the project, and we'll award to the lowest responsive bidder, and then we can get it constructed in this year. But if I follow the kind of the protocol going forward, if we don't get this until August approval in a committee, and then September, we're going to be pushing the limits of getting Sunnyside and Sunnyside East this year done. This is no fault of ours. It's a delay with coronavirus that DOT is not necessarily moving things forward very quickly. They still have many of their employees working remotely. So we're just trying to make sure that we have all the pieces in place. So once the bids are in and the supplemental agreement is there, we can award construction and start this work this year.
This would be for items 5, 6, and 7.
That's correct.
What's the committee's pleasure regarding these, Mr. McGowan?
Thank you. Yes, I've been working with Kevin on this for over 2 years. It's been a hard process because we're actually talking a town road, a county road, and a state road. It's quite an intersection, and it's been a long haul getting this way. And I want to thank Kevin for bringing this up and trying to wrap it up. But I don't have a problem, combining all three of these together if we're able to do that.
Fine. Would you like to make that a motion?
I'll make that a motion to bring, 3, 4, and 5 together?
5, 6, and 7.
I'll
All right.
second that.
Mr. Bruno, was that a second?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno on the second. Once again, discussion on 5, 6, and 7. Motion to approve. There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the motion on 5, 6, and 7 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I see none opposed. Carried. Item 13, Kevin.
This would be the award of the contract or a new contract with the lowest responsive bidder for the project. Again, we would not to award it to anybody if we didn't have the money to cover it, but DOT will cover it in their supplemental agreement. So this would be the award and the new contract for the lowest responsive bidder.
Supervisor Bramer on the motion, Supervisor McGowan on the second. Discussion. Kevin, you'll notify the board regarding the low bidder.
I will do that.
All right, I'd appreciate that, and you know what the canvas is. All righty. You've heard the motion. I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving item 13 signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Carried. Item 14.
This is a resolution request to amend the budget. This would be to reflect insurance recovery payment received based on a traffic sign that was taken down by an accident.
Chair will entertain a motion to bring this to the floor for consideration. Mr. McGowan on the motion, second. Mr. Leggett on the second. Thank you. Any discussion on this? Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of approving item 14 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 17, Kevin.
Next item is to authorize agreement with municipalities within Warren County for the road maintenance. This is the contracts that we put out each year with each one of the towns. We have not increased it this year. The cost remained the same as flat from last year. Costs were not significant or much higher last year. Partly, I think, in part that it was a little bit more of a mild winter. And the fact that some of the towns and stuff are using brine now, so it's kind of reduced costs. So this is to do the contracts with each one of the towns again.
All right, Chair, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. McGowan on the motion, second. Mr. Bruno on the second. Any discussion?
Chairman,
Ms. Bramer?
just to clarify, these are dollar amounts that the county is paying to each of these towns?
That is correct.
That's correct. The towns maintain approximately 150 miles, is it, Kevin, of the county's road systems in the winter.
It is.
And it also includes some grass cutting as well, I believe. Is that correct?
So there are no county roads at Glens Falls.
Kevin?
Bay Road at the end is maybe touches Glens Falls, but that's it. Main Street ends at Southwestern Avenue, and then it turns into, I don't know if that's Hudson Street or Broad Street, and that's not a county road.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, I mean, you need to stop and think for a moment what the cost would be for county taxpayers to have to field the fleet, equipment, building, personnel, supplies necessary countywide. It's just much more efficient to do it through the towns. I don't know that the towns are totally happy with where the dollars are, but they're better than they were some years back. So I think
that's understandable. What was running through my head is that the county, the Glens Falls taxpayers who pay a portion of the county budget towards DPW, and we don't really have any county roads in the city of Glens Falls.
Yeah, no, I'm sure if you went through the county budget, you would identify things that the towns pay for that they probably don't benefit greatly from either. That's just the nature of a regional budget. But your point's taken. Mr. Hajos.
I was just going to, Supervisor Bramer, this is for mowing. This is for removal of sand on the edge of our roads, as well as the snow and ice. The city of Glens Falls does benefit to some degree. We lend them our mower every year to do some mowing around the city. They use it around Haviland Cove and other places.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
All right, then. Did we move on this question yet? I'm not sure.
Mr. McGowan.
Mr. McGowan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted, does Chester have any equipment? No, I did see it in the snow earlier in zooming there. When you had the picture up there, but I just wanted to bring that Chester was a huge expense there. So,
yep,
a lot of long roads.
Big connectors.
Question?
Anything else from the committee or the board regarding
Mr.
this?
Simpson has a question.
Who am I hearing? Is this?
It's Amanda. Mr. Simpson.
Amanda, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out too, it really is good partnership because, you know, I've seen where, you know, a municipality truck and another municipality truck travel over the same road, and we could get into where somebody's carrying a plow, not plowing a road because of boundaries. So I think it's a really good agreement between the town and the county, throughout Warren County, and it's good government. Thank you.
You're welcome. I know some of the towns would be happy if the county took on these responsibilities tomorrow, but maybe not all the towns, but certainly some. All right, then, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the agreement with various municipalities for 2021 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition? Carried. Item 21, Kevin.
This is a look for authorization to enter into a cooperative agreement with New York State DEC for the use of their regenerative vac sweeper. As you all know, we have two areas, at least county areas, that have porous pavement. One of them is Beach Road, and the other is the Westbrook parking lot. We've always contracted every year to have Beach Road, which needs to be cleaned twice a year, the porous pavement, as well as Westbrook. We've always contracted every year to have that work done. With the new $1 million beach parking lot, as well as the ring road around that beach, that was all put in with porous pavement as well. When that was done, DEC went out and bought themselves a regenerative vac sweeper to be used on that, although it's not being used as much as it should. I reached out to DEC to see if we could reach some type of shared use agreement such that the county could use it on Beach Road as well as the Westbrook parking lot. In turn, what we would end up doing is doing their parking lot for them in the ring road. They have sent an agreement already. I've actually passed it on to the county attorney's office. I want to get Mary's buy-in and approval of the agreement. But basically what this would allow is they would maintain the piece of equipment. They would fuel the piece of equipment. We would have an operator use it on Beach Road as well as Westbrook parking lot. And then of course we would do their parking lot, which would need to be done in winter because they don't typically plow it, and the ring road. And it's done twice a year on all the locations, typically in the spring and then once in the fall. So this is an agreement to kind of do a shared use with them. But they would maintain the equipment and they would fuel it. We would just operate it.
All right, let's bring this to the floor for consideration. Mr. McGowan on the motion, second.
Second, Bramer.
Second, Ms. Bramer. All right, any further discussion on this cooperative arrangement? Mr. McGowan.
Kevin, I just want to reach out to you and say, hey, thank you for doing that. I mean, I know we have a concern with that the porch pavement, and that is a great concern that we keep that well vacuumed. So thank you for reaching out and to the New York State DEC for allowing this. So hopefully there'll be no problem with the contract, and we'll have that use.
Yeah, we have one small porous lot up here in Bolton, Kevin. If you want to shoot up here when you got it, take care of our lot. I'd be much appreciated. Anyway, I'm actually half serious with that, by the way. But if we need to talk about some kind of recycle, let me know, would you?
We'll add it into the contract quickly.
Yeah, don't I know? Thank you. All right, then. You've heard the request for the intermunicipal agreement. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of approving this agreement with DEC, New York State DEC, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Hang on, Andrea, were you pre-waiving for approval, or did you have a question? All right. I don't know why Ron's not seeing you today.
I'm not. My scroll ends with, I've been scrolling over. I can see you now, Andrea. What do you have for us? Nothing.
She doesn't have anything though. No.
Okay.
I will say, can we have
Brad
the agreement once you get it done?
Brad's just practicing taking over the chairmanship.
Well, no, I have you on a 72-inch screen. I see everyone. No.
Ron,
all right, now let's
Chairman,
move on
you can,
to
Chairman,
the reduction of fees for Westbrook parking lot. What do we have here, Kevin?
Well, I think you skipped over the brine making equipment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to item 22. Kevin, what do we have here?
So last committee meeting, I spoke about the purchase of two different things. One was a mobile brine making unit that would be used throughout the county, and any municipalities that wanted to be involved, they were going to put money in for the purchase of this piece of equipment. Number two is we're going to have a stationary brine making unit in our Tony pit, which the Fund for Lake George is going to foot the cost of. So this right here would authorize the purchase of the brine making unit, and then to enter into municipal agreements with various municipalities in a form approved, of course, by the county attorney for the use of the equipment. As I said, when we purchased the brine making, this mobile unit, we would kind of school each one of the towns on how to use it. We would probably, for their first couple times of using it, to make sure that they're using it properly. And then we would, kind of turn it over to them. We will maintain the piece of equipment. I think I also told everybody at the committee, Chris Belden in our planning department has a grant for approximately $72,000 towards the purchase of this mobile unit. And then Dave Wick has reached out to other towns who are interested, as well as Washington County, as far as chipping in money for the purchase of the piece of equipment as well. So right now, I believe we have the $72,000 grant, and probably almost another 35, possibly 40,000 from other towns and municipalities who would like to chip in for this piece of equipment. We, the county, would buy this piece of equipment up front. I would take it out of my machinery code, and then we would be reimbursed the $72,000 by the grant from the planning department, as well as all the municipalities who would like to participate or who have shown an interest in participating. And then whatever money would be left over above and beyond the purchase price that came in from any of the municipalities, we would put into a reserve account, which I don't have to do today, but it would be put into a maintenance reserve account so that in the future, if there was any maintenance needs for this mobile brine making unit, that would cover the cost of the unit or cover the cost of the maintenance on the unit.
Let's bring this to the floor for consideration. Mr. McGowan, Mr. Leggett on the second. Discussion. I know the town board, the Bolton Town Board, we approved monies in our budget for this project. I'm not sure about the other municipalities, but Bolton's in.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll try to follow Bolton's example here as well. In looking into brining, the upfront cost of making the brine was deterrent to it. So this should be able to work out. We look forward to joining in on it. It sounds like it's going to be a mobile and not a permanent one.
That is correct. There's going to be 2 units. There is going to be a stationary unit that the Fund for Lake George is buying for the county that will be stationed here in Warrensburg at what we refer to as my Tony Pit. And then this mobile unit will be stationed out of here, but it'll be on a trailer and it'll be able to be taken to any municipality who wants to use it.
And then we just pump out of there, or will it also create the brine?
What you would do is you would there's still a purchase of salt for this mobile brine making unit. So each of the municipalities buy their own salt. They would put the salt within this brine unit, and then they would run their water through it, and they would produce their own brine. Now we store it. You know, a lot of municipalities. I know Bolton does. I know Hague does. I think I have 6 tanks now, which are 3,000 gallon tanks. So I can store quite a bit. Bolton, I think, probably has at least a 3,000 gallon tank. Village of Lake George and the town both have tanks. The purchase of some of these tanks is not significant. They're reasonably priced, and if any of the towns or other municipalities are looking to purchase some of these, we can kind of assist by directing you, to the right location. We had a bid out for a couple of years ago to buy these tanks. I don't know that the bid's good anymore, but I do believe that there's opportunities for towns to buy these tanks still from certain vendors that would help them in storing their own brine.
Thank you.
I like that all of the towns, in fact, I think they're actually looking at some towns at some adjacent counties that may want to participate as well. So this is taken off. This is a good thing. I can remember the early days when we started this initiative with the fund. And others that, and really an awful lot of credit to you, Kevin, and your department. I think you're the IBM of road work here in the county, and I think having you central to this has really helped to accelerate it and move it forward. And so
thank you, Ron.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. What is the initial upfront cost to the county? Did you say that already? For purchasing the unit?
The mobile unit is going to be approximately 100, anywhere from like 103, 107. I believe we're either getting it off of OGS bid or Sourcewell, which is another area that we can purchase from. So I believe the upfront cost right now would be somewhere about 103 to 107,000, but we'll get reimbursed, number one, from all the towns and counties participating in it, and number two, from the $72,000 grant that Chris Feldman has.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I of course, Kevin, am thinking about the composting program and how we can kind of use this as a model for what we can do in that arena.
Absolutely.
Getting everybody on board, working together towards the cost and then the ongoing operation of the thing. It doesn't seem that different
No, it's, I don't believe it is.
Especially if we have grant money through DEC at some point, if we, once we have the time to sit down and actually fill out that application. And if we can get all the municipalities on board to chip in a little bit, it can work.
Absolutely.
All right then, Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For Supervisor Bruno and Bramer, really, this is something the city ought to look into. I know, unfortunately, with you guys, with all the water lines and sewer lines underneath your streets get packed very quickly and become very icy. And then once that traps water, it starts breaking down the roads, and you get the potholes. But it would be something that the city would pre-treat their streets. It would help that from packing down and grabbing hold of and easier to remove, which would be a savings for your DPW, but something that you might want to bring up to your DPW heads there of this opportunity that's coming in that Kevin's put together. And thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and maybe the county can give us some money towards maintenance of our roads.
That's not what I said.
Not what I heard.
Yeah, just to be clear, the county's giving the town's money for the maintenance of its roads.
I understand,
Not
Chairman.
our roads. That's for another day, I suspect.
Yes, I'm filling in for Supervisor Diamond today on this.
Let me think of where I am.
Call the question.
Okay, yeah, let's call the question on the agreement with the municipalities regarding the brining. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. And now we can move to the reduction of fees for Westbrook parking lot. Kevin, what do we have here?
So and I believe, I don't know, I don't see Ryan still on here. I'll let him jump in a couple minutes, but there was a proposal from the mayor at the Park O&M meeting for Dave Eman to host concerts there, drive-up concerts. And I think Ryan can jump in, but the bottom line is I don't think they're necessarily approved as of yet. With that being said, we reduced the fees on the festival space for anybody who's to use it this year, I think by half price. Dave Eman had reached out to the mayor and asked if he could reduce the price on the parking lot to the same price that he would be paying for the festival space. Reason being is if he uses the festival space and they don't take the parking lot, then all of us can go sit in the parking lot and watch a free concert without having to pay for it. So he wants to use the parking lot, but he wants it at the same rate that he would be paying for the festival space. Now, with that being said, we have already reduced the parking lot half price this year. And once we reduce that, according to the county attorney's office, is that we can't just do that for one person. We'd have to do it for everybody who wants to use the parking lot. So basically what Dave is asking for is another $250 off of that for the use. But again, if we do it for Dave, then what's going to end up taking place is we have to do it for everyone else. Now, I know, Ryan, if you want to jump on.
I'm on here too, Kevin.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mayor. I didn't realize you're on here. So
okay.
Ryan has been talking about this with the control room. Dave has provided us kind of a plan of what he wanted to do on the festival space and within the parking lot. It was originally going to be individuals staying in their cars listening to the concert, but now I believe he's proposed people to be outside their cars, not to the side of their cars, where they would come into that 6 foot of distance from one another, but actually in front of their cars, and it's easier to keep that separation of distance. But again, I know Ryan, you're on here. He's trying to seek approval. I don't necessarily know he's gotten it yet, but I'll let him jump in from there.
Ryan, are you available?
I'm available. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Yes. I did get approval on Saturday, and the only caveat there is that the state wants people to stay in their cars the same way you would do for a drive-in movie. I know that some of the drive-in movie theaters are not in practice operating that way. That's the state problem. The state opened drive-in movie theaters without issuing guidance as to how they need to operate. I brought that problem to the state's attention. Hopefully they tighten that up and get a better handle on it. But this was a different situation because the industry of drive-in movie theaters were open. What we're proposing to do here is inside a public park have an event that functions as a drive-in movie would function. So it was outside of activities that the state had approved up until the time, but I did get approval for it Saturday, as long as people stay in their cars. If they have to get up and use the restroom, that's fine. They can mask up and go out. The village is cleaning those restrooms, but otherwise they do need to be in their cars.
Mayor, do you have any comments?
Well, yes, and then thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Ryan, thank you so much. I followed the deliberations on Saturday, and Ryan, without Ryan, we'd have not gotten approval to hold a drive-in concert at Wood Park, because that was a brand new animal to the control group. And there's a reason that Dave is asking for the reduction. And number one, I understand it would have to apply to everyone. Dave Eman is the only one we have left for the season using the park. He's proposing that this first event be 3 nights, and he's got the 3-night festival booked for the Adirondack Independence Music Festival, and then he's working on another 3 nights for another group coming. So all of the other concerts that we've had have been canceled, as you know, along with the Adirondack National Car Show. So what happened when Ryan was negotiating with the control group, they were very concerned about gatherings taking place outside the perimeter of the space that Dave Emans was renting. And as Kevin mentioned, the primary problem we've had, and particularly with a concert such as this, where the stage is facing the county parking lot, there's a great number of people that congregate outside in the county parking lot. They actually come in with flatbed trucks and put chairs on top of them so they can see over the fence, and do not pay the admission to see the concert. So the only way that Dave can control that, and the village is going to help him as well, is to hire extra people and secure that county parking lot, which he did not intend to do at the beginning. He needs at least another 5 to 6 security people for 3 evenings to do that. The extra $250 would give him the ability to hire some extra people and make the concert a success, so that we could go forward with this as a model for other concerts across the state. What we're going to do for him, as far as the village is concerned, we're going to go up on the other viewing spot, which is up on top of Route 9 on the sidewalk, and with our personnel, we're going to block off the sidewalk for pedestrians, and our COVID-19 inspector is going to be on duty, and he's going to be roaming the village section to make sure that there's aren't large gatherings gathering outside the park, so that we ensure that we make this first concert a success, so that we can hold others in the future as well. It's a great concept. Ryan knows how reluctant the committee was to approve this, even though they're doing one at Vernon Downs the very same evenings that we're doing one. But we're going to do our very best to ensure that he abides by all the rules. And in order to do that, we have to put under his control as much space as necessary. So rather than turn down and not take another $2,250 for the county for 3 nights, and the possibility of 6 more nights to rent it for the county. The parking lot right now is not doing much business at all. We're doing somewhere between $100 to $250 a day, a little bit more on weekends. So it would be money economically good for the county to agree to it. I don't think it's a deal breaker. I think if the county holds the cost at $1,000 a day, I don't know that Dave will not still rent the parking lot. But as I said, the 250 additional was just another way of getting him to hire more security people to assist us in securing the perimeter so that we don't have any large gatherings that the control group was certainly concerned about. I hope I said that all right, Ryan.
I think you said it well. Let's do this. Let's bring this to the floor for consideration at this stage, if that's all right. Ms. McGowan on the motion. Is there a second?
Amanda wants to speak.
Mr. Wild on the second. I just scrolled over to get you there, Mike. All right, we have a motion and a second discussion.
Amanda has her hand up.
Mr. Wild.
Amanda?
Mr. Merlino is waiting to speak.
Mr. Merlino?
Yep, sorry about it. Mr. Mayor, I agree 100% what you said, and I think we still have to pass it through our attorney because she's the one that kind of stopped us from keep lowering the fees at that festival space, because once we lower it for one, we have to lower it for all. But I think this is an exception, because if the gentleman's going to put the security out there, we should help him that way. This is a special type of project, and we'd like to see it be successful the first time. So I think we do need that extra safety control on the outside parking lot. We should let him take care of it, and then we'll find out from the next ones he might want to do how successful it was for us in the county. But I agree with the mayor, and I agree with the event holder that we should have as much security as possible, and $250 I don't think will really hurt us in this particular case, not in all others, that want to use it for their own, more space and stuff. So that's my opinion, and I hope you try to do it.
Thank you, Jane. Supervisor Wild? You got to unmute yourself there, Mike.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in full support of this as long as it's for calendar year 2020 only. Did that come across?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. That's my understanding. It's for the balance of this year only.
Okay.
Is that everyone's understanding? Okay. Any other questions? My big concern on any gathering during the pandemic is safety, is public health. And I'm happy to hear, Mayor, that a lot of attention is being given to, if we're going to have a gathering like this, that appropriate standards be applied and enforced. And because otherwise, why even have the gathering, right?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's the only way, and Ryan knows this as well, it's the only way that we're going to be permitted to have a concert in 2020. And I know the concern about it applying to everyone else, there is no one else. All the other events have been canceled. Our only customer left will be Mr. Emons, and perhaps, hopefully, Mr. Alex Lombard, who wants to shift the Lake George Music Festival from Shepherd Park to there, but it'll have to be drive-in, and it'll have to be under the same circumstances that Ryan got approved. So it'll just be for this year, hopefully, and but it is a model, and we do need to secure that county parking lot so that we don't have these large crowds gathering outside the fence. And we're going to meet with him Monday, our committee in the village, and we're going to assist him to make certain that he abides by all the rules. we're also conscious of the fact that he can add food and beverage. The village board approved food and beverage, but only if it's delivered to the cars so that the patrons don't have to leave their cars. We're following the model there of Vernon Downs. People actually call to the food wagon and they're delivered by no-touch method by golf carts to the cars that are inside the perimeter, and that's the model we're insisting he use as well for food.
Any other questions, Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you, Supervisor Conover. Could the parking be included with the overall rental so that it's not so that it recognizes the uniqueness? You need the parking in order to have the event, or is that not?
Yep, Supervisor Leggett, he intends to park vehicles in the county parking lot. He intends to use that as, let's call it a balcony. The concert sold out in 2 hours. Both all night sold out in 2 hours. So if he's able to get the county parking lot, he's going to add another 30 spaces, obviously, which will help him with his income as well.
Any other questions? There being none, then you've heard the motion. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The village has a vacuum truck, and we'll be glad to come up to your town or any other town and vacuum your lot for you. Thank you.
We always, as always, the village is always helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hayjost, what's next?
The last item, there's no referral and pending items, and then the last item we have for information for discussion and review is our road projects for this year. The first one that was completed was Old Stage Road in Lake Luzerne, and the remainder of the projects will be worked on and completed over the month of August. We have two contractors, CPC as well as Peckham's, and both of them will be in the last week of July, first week of August to start the remainder of the projects throughout the county. In the meantime, we have rented the paver for the 2 months we were going to use it for this year, and I believe each one of my locations will use it. Right now, we're using it in the Stony Creek, Warrensburg area to do some maintenance patching, and I believe it'll be off to Johnsburg next, and then down to the south end in Queensbury, and then back up here in the Warrensburg, Bolton, Horicon area. So the last thing I have is, as you all recall, we had a collapse on the retaining wall next to the Sagamore Bridge. As you all know, I informed you last year that this was a county retaining wall owned by the county. The bridge itself is owned by the Sagamore. We had a consultant that we had on term agreement, JMT, do a they did soil borings and then an overall review of different alternatives that can be completed out there. We have now their inspection and evaluation back. The next step for us is to meet with the stakeholders, which would be the town of Bolton, the Sagamore Resort, as well as Water's Edge Marina. There are some costs associated with each one of the alternatives, and they're not small by any means. I think the least cost right now is $182,000 for the repair. The most expensive cost would be approximately $401,000. None of those deal with repairing what's existing there. I guess I'll explain it real quick. I'm surprised the wall has lasted as long as it did, but it did last for quite some time. But it's basically a retaining wall that was built for lack of a better way of putting it, on marbles. They're round cobbles and they were stacked on one another and they remained for many, many years. But for us to go in and do that same type of treatment, it's just, I don't think it's the best solution. And I will discuss that when we have that stakeholders meeting, everyone. But I will be coming back to committee eventually at some point, or we can try to work it in through our budget this year. But right now, I don't have any money under my existing budget, especially in light of everything that's happened with coronavirus or the pandemic, to foot the cost as well right now. It's not an imminent failure of collapse, but it will have to be repaired, and it is impacting to some degree Water's Edge Marina, because it's not allowing them to use a couple of their docks based on where the wall came down. So again, with that being said, we will have a stakeholders meeting. We'll try to include all interested parties, and then I will come back to the committee to do a report.
Yeah, I just let the members know that this is the only access to Green Island, and it's also how Green Island is provided. It's public sewer and water, so this and utilities. So this is everything comes together right here, and so it's a big deal. It's a big deal in a very, very vulnerable spot, candidly. So I thank you for your efforts, Kevin. Look forward to that report. Anything else to come before the committee, Kevin?
I don't have anything else.
Very good. Don, is there anything, any questions anyone has? Any comments?
No, Chairman Conover, we have nothing on YouTube as of right now.
Okay, thank you. To the committee, any other matters to come before the committee? There being none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bruno on the motion, Mr. McGowan on the second. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your patience.